Up to July, Southampton had been little used as a port, being so close to the German airfields in northern France. It had suffered badly in the enemy bombing attacks, and what was left of its cargo handling equipment had been removed to other ports. However, the port was still sound, and the Americans decided, against the doubts of the British, to reopen it. From February to the middle of May 1944, the 14th port was mainly occupied with the discharge of US Army cargo, which arrived in Liberty ships and other ships under the command of the US Maritime Commission. Such was the discharge that Southampton became not only the leading discharge port of the United Kingdom, but also third largest in the world. It was a remarkable record for a port that only a few months earlier had been written off by the British. After the middle of May 1944, the discharging of cargo was deliberately throttled back to allow preparations for D-Day to proceed. Southampton was a natural springboard for the invasion of France. In February 1944, several port companies and other specialised units were attached to the 14th port. Preparations for D-Day carried out by the port comprised the discharge of invasion supplies, constructions of parts of Mulberry, the concrete sections of Instant Harbour floated across the channel, converting merchant ships into block ships, and making raft barges from telephone poles. Obviously, there had to be a considerable amount of preloading for D-Day, and the 14th port's contribution was preloading 104 barges with munitions, products and large stores of quartermaster supplies. The invasion schedule of the 14th port called for the handling of motor transport vessels, coasters and tankers. Tankers were loaded from the oil tanks at Fawley and Hamble on Southampton water. By D-Day plus 90, Southampton had exported 90% of the rolling stock which had left the United Kingdom. The Third Army, featured in the film, did not take part in the initial stages of Operation Overlord. However, when it did take to the field in July, under Lieutenant General George Patton, it was just after Omar Bradley's formations had achieved the breakout from Normandy. The Third Army followed up on that success and began a great dash across France, and it was only logistical problems that halted the advance near the borders of Germany. As well as his skills as a general, Patton is also remembered for the speech he gave at the beginning of the campaign in northwest Europe to his troops, who were mainly raw recruits. There is no recording, so versions vary, but the gist is given towards the end. You may be thankful that 20 years from now, when you are sitting by the fireplace with your grandson on your knees and he asks you, "What did you do in the Great World War II?" you won't have to cough, shift him onto the other knee and say, "Well, your granddaddy shoveled shit in Louisiana." No, sir, you can look him straight in the eye and say, "Son, your granddaddy rode with the great Third Army and a son of a goddamn bitch named George Patton." The Third Army remained in Germany until recalled again in 1947, acting as a command and training force for units in the United States.